Hello and welcome to another episode of Switched On. I'm your host Ben Lamoureux, and I'm joined by two returning guests. Welcome back, Tess.
Thank you for having me. Also, I just saw that Jeff has like an old nemesis in front of his name, so now I'm just really sad.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Welcome back, my old nemesis, Jeffrey.
None could have seen me coming!
Except for Tess, because she has the outline. Well, we've got a pretty packed episode this week with plenty of exciting Nintendo news. There was a recent Nindies event. Lots of Nintendo and Microsoft talk, plenty of rumors going around there. And then, of course, our big discussion topic for a little later in the episode is reports about new Nintendo hardware. You guys ready to dig in?
I am. Let's do it.
I am starving. Let's dig.
Alright, so first up we got a couple of stories about the upcoming Detective Pikachu movie. You may have heard of it. First off, it's also getting a graphic novel, we just found out.
Ooh.
Yay! I get to pretend that I hear Ryan Reynolds' voice coming from a page. This is so awesome.
Yeah, I don't know personally if I'll get it, but it's always nice to see, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company kind of just sort of expanding out, Like, it's been a game for a while, now it's a movie. Why not make it a graphic novel as well? If there's an audience for it, yeah, bring cool stuff to your fans. Lots of people like collecting comic books.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not going to buy it. I mean, I haven't bought anything that isn't, a Lovecraftian novel. But, graphic novel, because those are actually a thing now. But it doesn't appeal to me, mainly because I haven't really watched Pokemon since the original run. So, and I haven't really read any of the books since, elementary school. So it doesn't really appeal to me. But again, it is nice to see that they are branching out.
Yeah, and I think this movie's going to be a huge hit, so, why not capitalize on it? So, speaking of hearing Ryan Reynolds' sultry voice coming out of the pages...
Oh, sweet Mother Arceus.
There was almost somebody else cast as Pikachu. You might remember there was a lot of fans wanting Danny DeVito to take the role, and there's even a petition that got 50,000 signatures or something like that. And it turns out Legendary actually took that kind of seriously. They were throwing around a few different names for who could be Pikachu, and DeVito was one of them. So they actually created test footage where they just got some of his dialogue from some previous movies or TV shows or whatever, and just animated a Pikachu saying it just to kind of give it a test run and see how they felt about it.
Was one of these shows Always Sunny?
Oh, man. Can I offer you an executor in this trying time?
I'm the Garbodor, man!
So yeah, I'm pretty sad that he didn't actually get the role, but I'm sure Ryan Reynolds will absolutely kill it. He's been hilarious in the trailer so far, but I can't, picture anyone other than DeVito. After the people first started requesting it, it's all I can see now.
Who knows, maybe we won't get him in, a movie, but we might get him, maybe there'll be a TV show.
We need a live-action show, obviously, with him playing Pikachu just in makeup and, wearing some ears.
I'd like to see the test footage leak, hopefully. Sort of like how the Deadpool movie, we had no idea what was happening, then footage of the test run just came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see that for this movie, just to hear for myself Danny DeVito voicing Pikachu, although not officially, still would have been nice.
Yeah.
That would have been really nice, absolutely.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so moving on from all of that goodness, we had the recent Nindies Direct event, so we're just going to go over some of the more exciting stories from that, or at least some of the stories that we found particularly exciting. So, first of all, the Zelda series is getting a crossover game with the indie series Crypt of the Necrodancer, so it's called Cadence of Hyrule, and yeah, Nintendo's handing one of their biggest IP, Legend of Zelda, over to an indie team to work with.
I don't think this is a bad idea, mainly because, I remember when Crypt of the Necrodancer came out, it was a big, big game for being such a tiny indie game.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody I knew was playing it, everybody I knew adored it, and the fact that they are giving, I feel like these guys really deserve it, because if I recall, this was probably one of the first indie games I really remember hearing about. And everybody I knew was talking about it. There was always something good to be said about this game. Everybody loves the Legend of Zelda series. So there's... I don't think Nintendo would just throw in, their IP with somebody that doesn't have experience or,
at least has a fun concept in mind.
Exactly, and Crypt of the Necrodancer is pretty fun. It's a very, I don't know if any of you guys, have you guys played Crypt of the Necrodancer?
I actually have not. I don't really play many rhythm games, but the footage I've seen, it looks pretty fun. It looks, well put together and pretty addictive.
Yeah, I started playing it this week. I've heard about it for so long, so naturally I recognized, I recognized Cadence hopping around and, just going about to the rhythm. But then I figured, wait, this song structure sounds a little familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes, do. Like, I was pretty much gripping my desk. Like, I was at work during lunch when the Nindies Direct was airing, and then right with the drop of the actual main theme with Zelda and Link being revealed, internally, I was pretty much going, oh my god! But of course, at work, I could just go like,
heavy breathing.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and the early footage makes it look like it's a really good marriage between the two franchises. It looks like it fits really well.
Yeah, less roguelike, more adventure-y, and given the fact that the Zelda series for the longest time has often incorporated music as a main theme, especially with a thematic tie-in instruments like Ocarina of Time,
sure,
and so on. It's just this marriage felt absolutely perfect.
Yeah, and so Kirk Scott, who is sort of the head of Nintendo Indies nowadays, he said we could actually see more of this going forward in the future, which I'm, very much open to it, especially if this game is successful. Like, they haven't really done much with 2D Metroid for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
They did the remake of Metroid 2, but it was sort of a 2.5D kind of hybrid thing. So yeah, I'd love to see, a follow-up to that, a studio like Way Forward, for example. I think they could potentially make a Metroid game. Or Dream Scenario, just give a $5 million budget to Tom Happ, who made Axiom Verge. But yeah, I'm definitely open to the idea of Nintendo working with more indie studios, because so many indies were inspired by these classic Nintendo games. And, a lot of them make 8-bit and 16-bit games sort of in that tradition, Well, again, they're working with a limited budget, and also they want to, respect the classics that inspired them to be game developers. So, once again, it seems like it could be a really good situation, a good fit for Nintendo to keep teaming up with these devs.
So does this mean Shovel Knight will finally be getting exclusive Nintendo content?
No, unfortunately.
Aww.
It makes me rather sad because I love Shovel Knight, but we're gonna be talking more about Yacht Club games later on in this segment, so I'm just gonna, hold off till then because I'm pretty excited about the new games. So I'm gonna.
Tess is the spoiler queen this episode.
Tess! With all these spoilers, you're really testing our patience.
Ben, can we move on?
I think we might have to restart the episode and just kick Jeff off at this point.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, that seems fair.
Okay with this.
But yes, let's move on to the next Nindies announcement, which was Blaster Master 2. So,
Woo!
Blaster Master, the old NES game, got a remake, what was that, a year or two ago on Switch? And now it's getting a sequel, and it was announced and then launched the same day. It was one of those deals where, the trailer dropped, and then it was, available on eShop now for $9.99. Did either of you guys get a chance to try it out yet?
No, I actually have the Blaster Master game, the remake on the Switch, but my boyfriend is a huge fan of the original game. So when I told him Blaster Master 02 was out, he was actually kind of confused for a minute because I sent him Blaster Master 0, and he was all like, "But we already have the game. What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Oh no, I mean two." And he goes, "Oh, right." There was a bit of a tone drop, and I was just all like, "Okay." So this could either go either way, but I haven't bought the game yet. I actually haven't finished Blaster Master yet, which I should probably get around to doing. But I'm too busy in Final Fantasy VII, so...
Oh, okay. Yeah, both of those games are just sort of on my to-do list eventually, just because there's so many good games on Switch, I don't have time to play them all.
There's too many. I never thought I would be happy with the frequency of high-quality games that the Switch is getting now, especially compared to its predecessor, the Wii U, but now it's guys, please slow down a little, I can't catch up, I've got a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday job, I can't dedicate my life to this.
Yeah, you can be working on your backlog till you're 80.
Exactly.
Did you mean till you're dead? Because that's pretty much what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Hey, but Switch is portable, so you can take it with you into the coffin.
Sweet, I can bring it 6 feet under with me.
Exactly. Playing Switch in the afterlife.
I actually do have some thoughts on Blaster Master Zero too, and that is for those of you who don't know, who don't actually have like the online subscription, Blaster Master is there for the original NES to play on the Virtual Console.
Oh.
If you haven't played that, I do highly recommend you play that before hitting into Zero. Zero is a lot easier than the original one. Like, hands down. By the way, thank you, Ben, for that subscription, including me into your family. I really do appreciate that.
I adopted a Canadian.
You adopted a Canadian who loves you so much.
Aww. You're a Canuck foster parent now.
If I haven't played the second one, and all I'm asking is that when I do eventually play it, I hope it's not as easy as they made Zero. Zero really dumbed down a lot of the game. And it's made it easier for people to get through. And that was one of the things like I enjoyed about Blaster Master, the NES version, was that it was hard. Because back in the day, we didn't have like the walkthroughs or anything like that. We had nothing to hold our hands and, you know...
Back in my day.
Thanks. Thanks for pointing out my age here, Jeff.
You're welcome.
But no, I really hope that they took the time to make this a little bit more difficult than Zero. But I don't know if they've gone and done that, because a lot of the people that I found that were complaining about Zero were just going on about how too easy it was.
Alright, so next up on the Nindies list, the Stranger Things game that was teased back at the Game Awards, I believe, in December. So that's officially coming on July 4th, which is the same day as the third season of the show.
Yeah, about that. Nobody's going to be playing this game because we're all going to be too busy watching
Yeah, I might play it on July 5th, but I think I'm going to be busy for about 8 hours on July 4th.
Oh, goodness. Are you going to do the thing where you invite all your friends over and you're all going to order pizza and you're just going to binge watch all 8 episodes?
Maybe. Depends on who's available. If not, then I'll just order pizza and binge watch it by myself.
Well, I'll come over and I'll join you for the binge watch because I've been waiting for this season for a long time.
Alright, book the plane now. But yeah, it'll probably just be
All
like
right.
me and the roommate, maybe see if some other friends are available. But yeah, big fan of Stranger Things. I don't know if the game's going to be great or not. It looks, fine. It's kind of a top-down-ish, old 16-bit style game. Kind of reminds me of like Zombies Ate My Neighbors, that kind of style. But a little more beat-em-uppy. So yeah, it looks fine. I'll probably give it a shot. Why not? I enjoyed the show, and it sounds like it's actually going to sort of add a little bit of background to the story as well. I'm not sure how canon it's going to be, but
Yeah, they always say it'll add to the story, but then the canonicity gets debated to no end with these things.
Yeah, well, I'm a Zelda fan, so I'm used to debating canon to no end.
That is very true. That is very true. Which begs the question: where in the Zelda timeline does Cadence of Hyrule take place?
We'll find out. It may or may not be canon. Alright, so last up for our Nindies one, pretty big story, but it's something we've heard rumored in the past, and that is Cuphead, officially coming to Nintendo Switch.
Well, Cuphead's on his way, his pal Mugman in tow, going adventuring to escape the devil's grope. You can play at your home, but now here's something rich.
We're good.
You can play while you roam. Cuphead's coming to Switch.
You know what? It's actually really nice because, like, Jeff and I went to the
I
panel
remember.
we went to the panel at EGLX and we all got separated. I remember this specifically. We all went to the panel at EGLX, and one of the things that they said they would like to do was work with Nintendo to bring it to the Switch. It's so nice to see that they made it to the Switch finally. This is so nice.
And with Microsoft's
to
blessing, no less.
see.
Yeah.
Seriously. Good on you,
Like not just
for allowing your
not
IPs.
just their blessing, but their encouragement as well, saying like, "Hey guys, we'd like to bring your game to Switch." Like, I can only imagine the stunned faces in the room upon hearing that. Just like,
And not only that, so this won't be available at launch, but eventually there's going to be a patch that adds Xbox Live support onto the Switch version as well.
Woo!
What? I didn't know that.
Yep. So, and Microsoft has said that'll sort of open the door then to potentially more Switch games getting Xbox Live support. So, they haven't confirmed any specifics or given a timeline or anything, but this is another thing where we've, heard reports for a long time that Microsoft and Nintendo are basically going to get all buddy-buddy, and Microsoft is going to, bring more features to Switch. And at the very least, some of it's happening. I don't know how much of it's true, but Xbox Live support is coming to a select number of Switch games, and Cuphead is one of them.
Wow, that is awesome. And for some reason, I just felt like 1,000, Halo fans, like, there was just like a cry in the Halo fans community of happiness. I don't know why, but it just suddenly, it just hit me really hard. But I really support this decision with Microsoft to allow the Xbox Live to come to the Switch. And I really hope there are a lot of good games, like Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh, please.
Per example, that I'd like to see on, the Switch store, so the eShop. So that would be wonderful.
Not just Banjo, but the entire Replay collection, given most of the games on there have premiered on Nintendo systems, so as far back as the NES.
Yeah, like Battletoads and stuff. That'd be great to have them on there as part of the Rare collection, because that's also got some extra features. Like you can do the CRTV overlay that kind of gives everything a retro look, and then there's the like rewind feature where you can just rewind a game like 30 seconds if you screwed up and want to try it again. So it's a pretty cool package. It'd be great to have it on Switch. I'd buy it just for Banjo, if nothing else.
Yeah, me too. Hands down. And maybe like I'll even eventually play Halo, because God forbid I've had issues with Halo in the past. So come on, Microsoft, do it. I want to retry the Halo series, see if I can actually fall in love with it.
And as for expanded Xbox Live support, I wouldn't be surprised if it would apply to most of the multi-platform stuff. Indies, I'd imagine they'd want to be all in. Bigger companies, I'd imagine it might take a little bit of coaxing, but I can easily see something like, I don't know, the Assassin's Creed 3 remastered, seeing as that's a multi-platform release too, that getting
No! I'm so sick of seeing Assassin's Creed, as I live in the exact city the games are created.
You're the only one who can do something about it. Go petition.
Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Just go sit outside of Ubisoft HQ and just, I don't want any more Assassin's Creed games. Stop releasing the games.
I know several million people buy them every year, but stop. So one last Cuphead story is that Studio MDHR, the developers behind Cuphead, they are interested in bringing Cuphead and Mugman to Smash Bros.
Who wouldn't be, honestly? Not just from the fans' perspective, but more, if your game got like this much support by Nintendo and fans, you always like to imagine the future, just saying, maybe one day we'll see our boys in Smash.
Mm-hmm. So, Nintendo's already got all the DLC characters planned out. There's always the possibility they could announce like a season 2 or whatever, but at this point I would say no, it's not in the cards, but they could always be added as like assist trophies if not playable characters, so I think the possibility's there.
There's all the possibilities in the world. Wait, don't we only have like the first 3? Like we have like Joker, but then we have like the other 2 that were like, teased not too long ago, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, we know Joker for sure, and then Piranha Plant, but he doesn't count as part of the 5.
No, he doesn't count.
And then there's, it's not confirmed, but there's been a lot of hints that it might be, I think his name is Erdrick, something like that, from Dragon Quest III.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been one of the rumors. But yeah, for the other 3, we really haven't seen anything. Data miners haven't pulled up any clues yet.
Yeah, the only thing that we've seen them pull up is a bunch of placeholder playable character spots pulled out of World of Light, but that's kind of a given with any game receiving ongoing support, with one of their main gimmicks being multiple playable characters. We've seen that in Smash 4 as well, having so many slots set aside, but of course they weren't going to up and use it all. So at the very least, we know that there's a possibility that they might do another Fighter's Pass. But in the meantime, we're talking about something that stretches up to the year 2020, and that's going to take forever. So who knows? Who knows what the plans? Well,
let Sakurai rest.
Exactly. Let the man rest. He had an IV literally connected to him while he was working. Let the man rest.
Praise Sakurai forever.
Mm-hmm. So, moving on, we got a handful of either recently released games or upcoming games. So, first up, Yoshi's Crafted World has been getting really good reviews. Not like 9s and 10s, but it's like sitting at around an 80 out of 100, I believe, on Metacritic. And we're recording this on the 29th, so Crafted World actually just released today. Personally, I haven't had a chance to play the full game, but I did play the demo, and I thought it was pretty fun. A little bit slow-paced and laid back, but it was also an early level, and I've heard that it gets a bit more exciting as it goes on, so...
I mean, I actually played the demo as well, and I'm not gonna lie, that was the most relaxed I've been since Pokemon Go's come out. And I think I was on for the Pokemon Go, or the Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, sorry, not the Pokemon Go. I'm just sitting here on my phone just collecting Pokemon.
The opposite of exercise.
Exactly. No, but when Pokemon Go Let's Go Pikachu came out, I was sitting wrapped up in a blanket. I had a chocolate bar in one hand, I had my controller in the other, and I was super relaxed. It was super awesome. But then for some reason, something told me to go try Yoshi's Crafted World. Mind you, the last Yoshi game I've actually played was the Yoshi's Island remake for the 3DS.
Don't you speak that? Don't you speak that title here?
I know. I was really excited to play it, and it was just absolute crap. But for some reason, something told me you should give this game a go. You should just try the demo. If you don't like it, Anyways, I played it 6 times since the demo's come out, and I love it so much. It's so relaxing. It's so calming. Mm-hmm. And I find coming home after a really stressful work day, just to sit down and just, play and just go find Poochies is just the most relaxing thing I've ever done. And I haven't bought the game yet. I need to get around to buying it. I feel like this is just going to be that game that everybody goes to because they want to relax. Mm-hmm. And they even have that whole option where, you don't even have to do anything hard. You can just float around the world, which is really cool. I really, really like that. So good on Yoshi's Crafted World so far for even the demo just being good and relaxing and super, super positive. So
yes, the same can be said of Yoshi's Woolly World as well, being just such a nice, good, wholesome time altogether. And as well as the 3DS remake of Kirby's Epic Yarn. I think that came out about a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the final games for the 3DS, the swan song before Persona Q2. But as I actually played a little bit of extra Epic Yarn myself, and it's a very competent port. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't know. It kind of felt like a few things were missing, like the end stage Kirby dance. I mean, no, that's still there, but the results screen, they took that out. I like seeing Kirby just hopping back and forth in happiness. Why would you take that out?
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange decision.
Yeah,
it really is.
Well.
So next up on our upcoming games, we finally got an actual trailer for the Labo VR kit that's coming out. So that was announced a few weeks back, but for some reason all they had was a press release and some screenshots of the merchandise, but no actual footage. But we finally got to look at that now, so there's going to be just a whole bunch of different games. There's 64 mini games on top of, I think, 6 bigger games. And then what interested me, actually, what kind of took me from 0 to interested, is it comes with, a garage feature like some of the other kits, where you can create your own custom VR minigames. They just give you a bunch of tools and a bunch of simple AI commands, and then you just build your own little puzzles or games or whatever, and other people can play them in VR. So I thought that was a nice little touch.
Somebody needs to make Pokemon Snap, because I'm just watching the trailer now, and if there's no Pokemon Snap, I'm going to lose it, because this is an absolute amazing thing. There's a couple of cameras from what I see here, and you can just take pictures. Please, Nintendo, this is a prime opportunity to use the Labo.
So what you're saying is, if we don't see a Pokemon Snap game for the Switch, you're going to snap?
Oh my god. Ben, can we just redo the podcast?
And that said, though, I do have one question about the Labo VR.
And what's that?
If I wear it on my face, am I going to go blind from the eye strain of seeing all that black and red?
Well, thankfully this is not virtual, boy. Your arms might get tired, though, because I don't think it actually, straps to your head. You actually have to hold the goggle contraption to your head, which seems a little bit like a strange choice to me. I would think it would be pretty simple to just include a strap to attach, but...
Well, it's a good thing I started lifting.
No, it does actually look strange that they don't actually have something like the VR system where it just kind of like wraps around your head and you're able to just like move freely. Which I think would actually be really freaking cool. Here
come all the Magic Mad Catz accessories. Oh, wait.
So, I actually do have a legitimate question. Sure. Do you think that with the Labo VR, do you think this is going to be Nintendo's way to make their way into actual VR?
There were some rumors that some VR features would come to some of their other games. I want to say Emily Rogers suggested that. But so far they haven't announced anything yet. And if they do, keep in mind, this is going to be like baby's first VR toy, basically. So, I don't know how it would look. Like, I don't know if you could just slap it onto a bunch of existing first-party games without it making them look terrible or run terrible. So it might be a thing where, like, going forward, they try to make a few games specifically with this VR setup in mind. But I don't know how easy it would be to slap it onto existing games.
I can imagine something if they were to actually take the time and, you know, look into it. Because, like, the Oculus Rift has been doing super well. I'm sure, like, they couldn't pull somebody aside from Oculus and be like, well, we would like to release some of your games. Would you be interested in working with us? Nintendo now has, like, that opportunity to do it because weren't they, like, the first ones to actually do it with, like, the Virtual Boy?
I don't know if they were the first, but they were definitely ahead of most people because that was, like 94 or something like that, early 90s, so.
Yeah, Pinball Wizard, you know.
You gotta say, though, with their foray into VR, if we do start to see VR compatibility in major Switch releases, I feel to see why they wouldn't want to capitalize on Mario Kart VR, especially as that's already a thing, like an actual Mario Kart VR game in certain arcades around the world.
Yeah.
I would love to play that.
Yeah, Mario Kart VR is just perfect for that. And like you said, it's an arcade already, but yeah, I don't know if the tech is there for them to, like, that fast-paced of a game with just, you know, the Switch's technology, trying to run it in VR. I kind of feel like that might be like a blurry headache of a mess, but I love the idea. You know, it'd be super cool if that could become a reality eventually. Or, you know, we could just cross our fingers that arcades will become popular in North America again. But I don't see that happening anytime soon.
If only there were a more powerful edition of the Switch.
Well, we will definitely broach that topic in a little bit here.
Spoilers! See, I'm not the only one, you know, spoiling things.
No need to cry over spoiled news.
Oh my god, Ben, can we just move on, please?
So, the next game in this segment, personally, I'm not super familiar with it, but I understand that you two are both super excited about this, so...
Quack.
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 So...
Quack, 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 quack.
So what's going on with the crazy people quacking over there is that Duck Game is finally coming to Switch on May 2nd.
Yay! It's about time! I love this game so much, and it's actually a game that I've gotten really good at. For those of you who join us every Saturday, I just finally got around to playing this last Saturday for Smash Bros. Unfortunately, I kept dying every second I possibly could. Like, I mean, I was just jumping off the side by accident. So this is probably the one game that I got good at. So that way I could say that I'm good at a video game. A multiplayer video game at that.
The perfect game to play with your foul-weathered friends.
Oh my god, I knew that this was going to be a nightmare coming into this podcast.
Just the moment that they dropped the confirmed release date, I just saw a golden opportunity to write the perfect news piece for this game.
Yeah, how many duck puns did you manage to squeeze into that?
I think I counted about 6 or 7 last time.
But anyways, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the game, you play as a duck.
Quack.
You can play up to 4 players, and you get really cool heads, and I mean by, like, you can get, like, a pompadour, which is the one that I normally use. Is that what it's called? Like, the hairstyle?
Like Bruce pompadour? From Skyward Sword?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let loose the goose. Oh, let loose the goose! But they're ducks.
Yeah, that goose game is a different game.
That is true. But nonetheless, yes, Tess, go on. I am very sorry to interrupt you with one of my brilliant puns that tend more often than not to ruffle some feathers.
Anyway, Tess.
Ben, this is the last time I'm doing the podcast ever.
Aw, your laughter says otherwise.
Anyway, so you play as a duck, and you can go up to 4 players, and you basically have different stages where you guys go head-to-head to see who can become the ultimate duck. The stages vary. You can have anywhere from just like a random platform, and there's random items scattered around everywhere, to there's just guns, and you have to shoot each other.
As ducks do.
As ducks do. I'm not gonna lie, like, when I found out when you can pick up a flamethrower and you, like, light one of the other ducks on fire, you automatically become a duck dinner. It's just, that was to me the best thing ever. But with, like, the game going forward, you could kill other people, but there's, like, a short window where you could accidentally, like, kill yourself. And it would be considered a tie.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Where you can both die.
Just ever since the Nintendo Switch Live conference, like back in 2017, before the Switch came out, Duck Game was dropped as one of the indie games that would be coming to support the Switch library. And for the past 2 years, I started to find myself asking more and more, just, where is Duck Game? With every passing direct, and then all the Nindy directs, it's just, okay, good direct, but where's Duck Game? I've never played the game myself because, well, crappy laptop, I don't really have a system that can run it. But then now that they finally announced that it would be coming to Switch, I'm happy, but then I'm just left wondering. I mean, not that I hold it against the developer personally. I mean, he's pretty much just one guy working on this thing by himself with a small group of people, and porting, it's a very serious endeavor. But now my wait has finally come to an end, and I already foot the bill for the pre-order.
And on that note, yeah, you can look forward to Duck Game on May 2nd. So, before Jeff drops any more puns, let's go ahead and move on to our next segment, which is a bunch of game announcements and teasers that we got recently. So, first up, I talked about a little bit earlier about how I think Way Forward would be a pretty good matchup for Metroid. So, they're not working on that, but they are working on Shantae 5. Woo! So, presumably it'll have a different subtitle, but that's just what they're teasing it as now. No real details given yet at this time, but it's in development, so you can look forward to it someday.
Yeah, we should be expecting the game within the year, at the very least. We know it's coming to Nintendo Switch, of course, PS4, Xbox One, PC, and also Apple Arcade, which is curious, but hey, the more support and exposure Shantae gets, the better.
Yeah, sure.
She is the Nindy darling, after all.
Yeah, so I'm not like a huge fan of the Shantae series, but I've played a couple of the games, and they're good platformers. They're fun. So
I've never actually played a Shantae game, and now that I think about it, I actually do have one on my Wii U that was gifted to me by somebody who watched the stream, and I just never got around to play it.
Oh,
so I think that maybe for some of the Apple players, because Apple doesn't really have a whole big gaming community. Per se, it's not like, where you just go and you download like a 99-cent game and then you're in love with it for about a month, and then you just kind of like look at your phone and you're just kind of like, I don't need it anymore. Why do I have it?
When I think Apple and video games, I just think icon with man screaming at something off screen and freemium, free to play, microtransactions, loot boxes. Yeah, so it's curious that they're trying to make this subscription-based move, but that's something for like a whole other podcast, not a Nintendo-centric one. But Shantae 5, though, I'm really looking forward to it. I gave the series a shot back with the Pirate's Curse when that came out on 3DS. I loved it to bits, music and all, and of course, well, she's plain friggin' cute. And then I supported the Half Genie Hero Kickstarter. It was super cool that we actually got the Ultimate Edition for free on Steam. And then, of course, I bought the game again on Switch. So, looking forward to Shantae 5. Way Forward hasn't let me down yet, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, for sure.
And now moving on to Way Forward alumni studio, Yacht Club Games.
Yes, Cyber Shadow.
Yay! I'm actually really excited about this game because not only is it, I'm terrible at the Ninja Gaiden series, like, hands down, no word of a lie. We haven't seen anything else from Yacht Club Games besides Shovel Knight and the 4 DLC that's come with the game for the other nights. And I was just... I was wondering, I was like, are we ever going to see something? And then, bam, a couple of days later, we get Cyber Shadow.
Yeah, so if you didn't catch the trailer yet, you should definitely go check it out. It looks very much in the vein of... like Shinobi or Ninja Gaiden, like you said, but also it's more fast-paced and run and gun. It's got a bit of a Contra feel to it as well. So it's kind of an interesting blend between that, like, sort of ninja gameplay, and then there's more, like, high-tech backgrounds, like he's fighting a lot of, like, robots and stuff. So it looks, it looks like what you would expect from Yacht Club Games. A retro-styled game, but with really, tight controls and good boss fights and stuff.
Yeah, the trailer music sounded so friggin' good. But on that note, Yacht Club Games hasn't really been developing the game themselves. From what I've heard, it was independently developed for the past 8 years by someone just working on their passion project. And then Yacht Club Games, they sort of met in the middle last year and then helped them polish up the release, I think.
Yeah, so the studio that they're working with on it is called Mechanical Head Studios. I couldn't really find too much about them, so I don't know if this is their first game or if they just haven't had anything really get popular before this, but the team up with Yacht Club seems to be doing wonder for them.
Mm-hmm.
I just read, like, the top comment on the article because I do have it open here, and somebody just said, going from such a visually iconic character design of Shovel Knight into, in my opinion, the generic character design of Shadow definitely feels like a step down.
Hey.
I don't agree with that.
I mean, I sort of get what they're coming from. It's just kind of a generic-looking ninja, but I'm way more interested in the gameplay than just what the 8-bit sprite
looks like. So. Yeah, exactly. Because, like, Shovel Knight was his own character. He had his own flaws, his own personality. This guy, he looks like... He kind of reminds me of the guy of the main character from Ninja Gaiden, and I can't remember his name for some reason.
Is it Ryu?
But, yes, it is Ryu.
Oh, man, I love Street Fighter.
Agreed with that too. Oh my god. I think this game is going to be a one of a kind, and I feel like games like I feel like producers like Chucklefish Yacht Club Games, I feel like they all have like this advantage because they're able to do something with like that nostalgia factor, something that we all yearn for. Mm. And I feel like that this game is gonna add to that nostalgia factor of, oh my god, Ninja Gaiden was so good back in the day, and this game is just it's so much better.
Yeah, as I said, it was I think the press release for the game said, Yacht Club wrote, it has the old school difficulty you know and love with a few modern conveniences, which Shovel Knight also accomplished, which I appreciated.
Yeah, so Nintendo, if you're looking for indies to team up with, why not look at Yacht Club?
Yacht Club Games. I mean, technically speaking, we do see Shovel Knight as an assist trophy.
Sure.
In Smash Bros. However, he should have been a playable character, and that makes me so sad. Yeah. But I have, like, this strange feeling that he's the only assist trophy that we see. That's not saying that we don't see him later in the DLC, and I have this weird feeling that maybe he's one of the characters.
Wait, Tess, stop right now! You'll rile up the Waluigi fans.
Good.
Alright, so moving on to our last story, before we get into the discussion segment anyway. Monolith Soft just put out a hiring ad. They're recruiting all kinds of people for a new Zelda game.
Yes.
So what they've put out is that they're looking for technical artists, programmers, planners, designers, and management support. So it's a pretty full-scale hiring effort that they're going through right now.
Wait, okay, for management, the management support or assistance or whatever it's called, whatever you just said. I'm sorry. So does that mean I get to, could I just apply as, an overseer for the project and not actually have to do anything?
Are you fluent in Japanese? Because...
I'd imagine that's a base requirement at the very least.
Also, years of experience working on AAA games would probably help, too.
I mean, I could just say arigato, Oni-chan.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got.
That's exactly how you're going to get a job. But yeah, so, I don't know. I'm hoping this means that the next big 3D Zelda game is further along than maybe we think. Nintendo actually put out hiring ads about 6 months ago, including they were looking for a 3D designer who would work on topography, including caves and fields. Mm-hmm. And that's actually something that Monolith Soft helped with on Breath of the Wild. They came on kind of late in development and helped tweak the overworld to make it feel more natural, because obviously they have a lot of experience with that with the Xenoblade series, and this was the first big open world Zelda. So they kind of lended their expertise to that. And before that, they also worked on Skyward Sword, and they even helped a little bit with A Link Between Worlds. So they've got a history of kind of teaming up with Nintendo on Zelda, and, in the past it's often been like a little later, like, mid to late development that they kind of jump in. So I'm hoping that means that, Zelda's pretty far along. There's been rumors that like Nintendo wants to do at least one Zelda game per year, so potentially a 2020 title, but every Zelda game, every big 3D Zelda game always gets delayed, so I think optimistically 2021 is maybe a little more realistic.
I just actually had like this really weird thought of, they're hiring for a new Zelda game, and I'm using the air quotes around new. We recently just got like announced back in February that Link's Awakening is coming. We are missing a couple of games from the Zelda series that has yet to been remade.
Sure.
Yeah, Zelda 1, Zelda 2, the Oracle games.
Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks. I have this weird sinking suspicion that it's not actually a new Zelda game and they might be remaking one.
Yeah.
I have this weird feeling about it.
Alternatively, I feel that maybe if they are using Breath of the Wild as a springboard in the same vein as Ocarina of Time was way back when, I wouldn't be surprised if they went the Majora's Mask route with developing this new 3D Zelda.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought too. They invested a ton of time and money building the graphics and physics engine that Breath of the Wild's powered on. So if I'm Nintendo, and seeing as Breath of the Wild's the most popular Zelda of all time, if I'm Nintendo, I would want to take that engine and build a sequel on it as fast as possible. Now, obviously, you don't want to rush it and have poor quality, but to me, you definitely want a Breath of the Wild sequel out, or at least, successor, before the end of Switch's life.
At the very least, until such a time comes, we do have a few other Zelda games on the back burner that can be used to fill that one Zelda game a year gap. Sure. I wrote a little while ago that Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD from the Wii U era, those could be ported as well, seeing as I've already spoken about possible Wii U ports. Skyward Sword HD, that's possibly been teased, but of course we can't really just put any stock into the meantime. And like Tess said, we could be seeing more remakes in some of the other smaller 2D Zeldas. So pretty much like the Zelda goldmine for the Nintendo Switch, not even counting the Cadence of Hyrule crossover. I think we've only just started to break the mantle.
Yeah, and like I said, Breath of the Wild's the most popular Zelda game ever, so it's like, strike while the iron's hot. The Zelda brand has more recognition right now than it's had since, like, I don't know, Ocarina, maybe Twilight Princess. So yeah, like, capitalize on that.
Yeah, it'd be a waste not to. And back on Monolith Soft for a moment, as cool as it was to see, just as a sign of their collaboration with Breath of the Wild, as cool as it was to see Rex's costume from Xenoblade 2 in Breath of the Wild, I'm a little sad that we didn't get any Zelda content in return in Xenoblade 2. So hopefully, I mean, with Nintendo starting to ease their restrictions more and more on crossovers, we would see some Zelda content in Xenoblade in the future.
Alright, so that's all the news we have, which means we get to move on to our big discussion segment.
Yay!
Woo!
What is it?
So, we've been speculating for a long time now that Nintendo could be working on a new Switch model. There's been some rumors about a possible Switch Lite, like a cheaper, smaller version, maybe with less features, or a more powerful Switch Pro model. And recently, those talks have really started heating up because the Wall Street Journal put out a report, and then Eurogamer corroborated that report. And so they're both claiming that both of these are real, the Switch Lite and the Switch Pro. They're both real, they're both in development, and they're probably going to be revealed within the next few months and launch in 2019.
It would be the perfect E3 drop right there.
Oh, yeah. And, a lot of people have pointed out, like, Nintendo's software lineup is already super packed for the rest of this year, like, a game per month kind of thing. And, I expect they'll have at least one or two surprises at E3, but if they're already pretty good on software, they could then focus quite a bit on hardware at E3.
See, with the Lite, do you think that it's going to be... I want to know if it's going to be cheaper.
Yeah, so that's what everyone seems to be saying, is that it'll be cheaper. The question is sort of, how do they get there? What do they do to make it cheaper?
Yeah, what's going to be the thing? Because, like, right now, like, the Switch is at $399 Canadian, which is, about, I don't know, how much American, like $2.50 or something like that.
70-ish cents. It kind of hovers around that point. Our dollar is not doing. It hasn't been doing so hot for years. So it kept breaking my heart seeing the standard like manufacturer suggested retail price in Canadian dollars just constantly rise year by year, and I was just like, oh, so we're Australia now. Cool.
Yeah.
But
Australian now.
You're not quite that bad yet. You're not on an island, but...
but we're getting there. We're at like 80 already.
So the Wall Street Journal, they suggested that it's going to remove features like, for example, the HD Rumble. Like, that drives up the price of the Pro Controller and the Joy-Con controllers and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Eurogamer took a step further, and they said they've heard that it might not dock. They might, cut on costs, make it less powerful so that it's always in handheld mode and it doesn't dock, which that would be a good way to save a whole lot of money. But, of course, then you're getting rid of, a big part of what makes the Switch the Switch.
That is true. But the thing is, Nintendo has always been the more cost-friendly of the three big players. Because even if you couldn't afford like the Wii or the Wii U, and that which was already like much cheaper than Sony and Microsoft's own console iterations at the time,
you could get the 3DS.
Exactly, you always had the handheld, cheaper alternative that still provided great games on the go. With the Switch Lite being like essentially a more stripped down version of the Switch, so like no TV docking, no HD Rumble, more kid proofed design. Mm-hmm. I do think that the idea of a Switch Lite would essentially be like baby's first Nintendo console, which would be excellent, especially since the 3DS is starting to go the way of the dodo. Like I pointed out before. We've only heard about 2 major Nintendo 3DS releases for this year, when it used to be like a bunch of games year after year. Now we've only had Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn itself being a port of a Wii game just a couple of weeks ago, and then Persona Q2. But for the last couple major directs, the 3DS had diminished to a non-existent level of exposure. So long as, the Switch, the main gimmick here was always console edition gaming on the go. So even if it loses the ability to dock on TV, I don't think it should be any bigger of a knock on the Switch's own appeal, given that handheld consoles has always been Nintendo's biggest thing.
Yeah, so the 3DS has definitely outstayed its welcome. It was a wonderful system for a long time, but its sales really plummeted last year. So Nintendo needs that cheaper option for, the parents that can't spend $300, especially if they have, multiple kids and they,
exactly.
Have, one per person. So, yeah, I think if you can get to like a $200 price point, obviously it's not going to be as good of an experience if you can't dock the Switch, but as long as Nintendo's very clear in their marketing, like maybe name it the Switch Go or something like that. So it's very clear, This is a handheld device, we're going to market it as such, we're going to make it a lot cheaper, and if you do that, I think it could become the perfect like Animal Crossing and Pokemon Sword and Shield device, because those are 2 big games coming out this year that are both traditionally handheld experiences. So it's great that if you own a Switch, you can play it at home too. But, for people that just want that handheld experience and don't have $300 to spend, I think a Switch Lite makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. And it's like you said, it would tie in wonderfully well with our goal of having multiple Switch systems per household. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to, it wasn't going to be just the Nintendo Switch forever. I would have been surprised if they didn't wind up going the route of the Nintendo Switch family of consoles,
Yeah, that was definitely something that Iwata envisioned all those years ago when it was still just codename NX.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I would actually like to see from the Switch Go is that, like, with the transfer where you can have, like, multiple the multiple user thing, but you can also, like, if somebody's playing, like, the game on the Switch,
mm-hmm.
you can also be playing another game on the Switch Go from the same account.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be a nifty little feature.
That would be a really neat little feature, because, like, what if I want to play with you guys and, boyfriend and I, per se, he wants to play something else on the Switch. Say, like, Blaster Master 2, for example. You can't do that right now because it's only, like, a one person. You just sit there and you play, and you have to switch to a different account. Why not have it so that way you can use it on both systems? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. So then, of course, in addition to, the Switch Lite rumors, we've also heard Switch Pro is a possibility. And again, both Wall Street Journal and Eurogamer say that this is sort of in development. So, that raises all kinds of questions. What should we expect from this exactly? I think a lot of people have sort of envisioned, like,
Mm-hmm.
Switch has enjoyed pretty decent third-party support. It doesn't get every game, but it gets a pretty good selection. But what happens when new consoles come out and suddenly Switch is super, super far behind? And so I think a lot of people were kind of hoping that a Switch Pro would come out to keep Nintendo in that third-party game, keep them powerful enough to get a lot of big games. But I don't really see that happening. The report that we've seen recently suggests that it's going to be a smaller power upgrade than that it still won't be as powerful as even just a normal like PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. I've seen it compared to more like what we saw with 3DS getting bumped up to the new 3DS. Mm-hmm. So it'll be a substantial improvement over Switch. But personally, I don't really expect this to be a model that bridges the gap to the next gen. I see this as being a model for people that are really hardcore Nintendo fans that want to get the most out of their games. So, like, for example, I've been replaying Breath of the Wild a lot, right? Mm-hmm. Beautiful game. Super great game. Fun to play. But it has plenty of issues. Like, it has dynamic resolution, which means when there's a bunch of stuff going on the screen at once, it actually scales down the visual quality to make it easier to run. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there's kind of long loading times. And a big thing is pop-in. Like, I'll jump off a mountain and be flying on my my paraglider mm-hmm. towards, like, a camp of moblins, right? And I'll be like, oh, there's 3 moblins. I can easily, you know, take them out. And then as I get, like, halfway to the camp, like, all of a sudden 4 more just materialize out of thin air because the Switch couldn't load them. So...
Abort!
Yeah, so that's something that a Switch Pro could fix, like, it without being this super expensive, huge power upgrade. It could just be just enough that, hey, your games are going to run at 1080p, they're going to have a steady frame rate, you know, they're not going to dip when there's an explosion on the screen.
And not just in docked mode, but portably as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That would be lovely.
Xenoblade 2 would look so much better.
For some reason, like, when you guys said the Pro, I automatically had, like, a flashback to the N64, and when it had, like, the Rumble pack and the extra, like, save cartridge come out, so that way you can play Majora's Mask. I have no idea why, but that was, like, the first thing I went to, and I was all like, how is that gonna work?
One thing's for certain about the Switch Pro, though, and, like, if there's one thing that I know for an absolute fact about this system that we know nothing about yet, I'm probably gonna pre-order it first thing.
There's a very real chance I'll get it as well, but we'll have to see what all they show off when they reveal it.
Exactly. I'm gonna take a step back from this, and I'm gonna wait, because for all I know, like I said, it could be like the N64 where it's just like a Rumble Pack feature and a save thing so you can play Majora's Mask over again. So I'm just gonna, take that step back from Nintendo, just be like, show me what you got. And then maybe I'll be like, well, I like what you got, so...
Yeah, so, like, for example, I don't think that the new Nintendo 3DS was a particularly good value. I think you can do a little more with Switch just because it's actually an HD console, so, you know, there was only so much you could do with that 3DS screen. So yeah, I'm not sold on it yet because it's just a pile of rumors, but if this thing can deliver me, like, 1080p Zelda with a steady frame rate and no pop-in, then yeah, I think that's worth the investment. But if it's if there's still, like, games running with dynamic resolutions or running at 900p or 720p, then it's like, yeah, I don't know if that's really worth me showing out, however many extra dollars. Yeah. So, which that also brings up a point. I'm curious if the introduction of a more expensive model, if it'll just be that, or if it'll be accompanied by a price cut for the vanilla model. Are they going to launch this thing at $350, or are they going to launch it at $300 and drop the normal Switch down to $250?
But then what would they put the Lite at? That's the
$200. Thing. Come on, $200. Make it happen.
No,
I think that's the magic price point, honestly, for a Switch Lite is $200. Anything above that, and I think, like, it's still not super accessible as a handheld.
I think maybe like $150. Maybe.
That'd be ideal.
But I'm pushing it. That would be
I don't
ideal,
know how you cut
I'm
down
just...
to that. I don't know what you get rid of to make it that much cheaper and, like, still make a profit,
Mm-hmm.
Joy-Cons are sold separately.
Oh, no.
That would save some money.
Although I'd imagine my girlfriend would love the idea of a Switch Lite, given the expected cost-effective manner in which it'll be sold. But on the Switch Pro front, I'd imagine by then, like, they would have completely ironed out all the issues that plagued the Switch at launch. Namely, for example, like some of the Joy-Con connectivity problems.
Yeah, or like overheating problems. Some people have complained that when it gets really hot in the dock, it bends the plastic slightly
Yeah,
so
exactly.
they get a curved Switch.
Wait, I haven't heard that. Is that actually real? Is it like the iPhone all over
It's
again?
not like your Switch is going to, like, fold into an L shape, but yeah, take a look at your Switch and there's a chance that its back is just sort of slightly curved instead of a straight line, and that just comes from getting really hot while sitting in the dock, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I'm getting panicky here. Don't tell me that. Please don't tell me that.
So another thought that I had, if Switch does fall behind, the next generation when the Xbox 2 and the PlayStation 5 come out or whatever, we've heard rumors that Microsoft wants to bring xCloud functionality. So one way that Nintendo could really push like a Switch Pro model is by making that compatible with xCloud and making the base model not, which I don't even know if the base model would be powerful enough by itself. But yeah, Microsoft's idea is next gen, they want you to be able to play like, Halo 6 and Gears of War 5 and all that. They want you to be able to play them on a tablet just using their streaming service. And rumor is that Switch is sort of included in that tablet genre. I think, a Switch Pro with xCloud support, that could be another thing that really makes it worth buying. Because then when, the 8 millionth Assassin's Creed game comes out or whatever, or the new Doom, it might be able to run on, like, a Switch Pro via xCloud, whereas it might not be able to run on the vanilla model. But I would not expect any new games to be made that can natively run on a Switch Pro and not a base Switch. That to me just seems like it would be dividing the audience too much, and there's not really any reason to do that when Switch is super popular right now.
It was a bit of a wasted opportunity with the new 3DS when they included that, but
Sure.
Like some games got to enjoy a nice boost, like Super Smash Brothers and Hyrule Warriors Legends, I believe it was, for 3DS.
Mm-hmm.
Although it was a little sad that some of the other games in the Switch's back catalog didn't get an upgrade with the extra CPU power, and even then, like we've only had one big exclusive Nintendo game was the Xenoblade Chronicles support, and then for some reason exclusivity to SNES Virtual Console games, which really rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, I don't think that was just Nintendo being gatekeeping or anything. I think they actually did have some issues getting their Super Nintendo emulator to run properly on the vanilla 3DS, but
Really?
Which is strange to think about, but yeah. So yeah, like I said before, optimistically, I would love a vanilla Switch price cut to go along with the launch of the Pro, but I think realistically, Pro launches at like $350, vanilla Switch stays at $300, and yeah, I'm not quite sure what to expect from the Switch Lite. I think if Nintendo's smart, they don't make it a cent over $200, because at that point, like it doesn't really feel like it's in that cheap handheld market, and that is the market they need to go after.
That is unless it comes bundled with either one of the new Pokemon games or Animal Crossing.
Yeah, that's a great way to bundle in some extra value without actually lowering the price as much.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to actually see, like, either the Pro or the Lite be bundled with Animal Crossing, because that would actually... I mean, I want the game as it is, but it would actually give me that extra incentive to go and buy the Switch, the Lite or the Pro, so it would be nice to see. So
Because I think the one thing we all want to see is 4K 1080p Animal Crossing.
absolutely, I do. I want Elizabeth to look into my soul. That's all I want.
So, with the idea of bundling things with the Lite, that's also something that Nintendo hasn't really capitalized on with Switch like they did with 3DS, is, like special editions. And, if you launch like a smaller, lighter handheld model, it'd be, easier to make all these like custom designs like they did with 3DS, where we had like an Ocarina-themed 3DS and an Animal Crossing 3DS and a Majora's Mask 3DS. And
I actually got the Link Between Worlds one.
Yeah, so I agree. Animal Crossing would be like the perfect game to debut. Like, hey, you can get this Switch Lite that has like Isabelle on it, and it also comes bundled with the game. I think that would be a super great way to push the newer model, the cheaper model.
And the Joy-Cons are like a neon green and a neon yellow color to match Isabelle.
Yeah,
that would be cute.
It's all about Isabelle.
It's all about Isabelle. Who doesn't praise the Queen?
All right, so did you guys have any more thoughts on the Switch Lite and Switch Pro, or are you ready to wrap up?
Just Switch Lite, yes, I love the cost effectiveness. Switch Pro, yes, I will put my money down on it because I am a mindless Nintendo shill and I cannot imagine my life any other way.
I'm pretty much just going to say that Nintendo's making me poorer by each passing day, so,
Yeah, no kidding.
It sucks, so...
But you're rich in spirit.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining me, guys. Hope you had a good time.
Always
Of course.
do.
Thank you for bringing me back, my old nemesis.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Maybe this will be the last one.
Oh.
All right. And thank everybody for listening in. Don't know when the next episode will be. You know, we've been doing kind of like bi-weekly, but it kind of depends on when Nintendo drops big news. So you can look forward to that whenever Nintendo gives us something interesting to talk about. And then I know we also have another episode of the Gamnesia After Dark podcast coming out soon, so you can look forward to that. That's just a little more laid-back show where we talk about, you know, whatever.
For the last After Dark that we did, which is the one coming out, we talked about the Google Stadia. We've gone, like, me and Cumulos had, like, a back-and-forth debate about some of the pros and cons of the system, which we've really had fun doing, so I am looking forward to when that episode comes out.
All right, so yeah, if you want to hear more about Google Stadia, check that out. Otherwise, you can follow me on Twitter, at Arimgard, ERIMGARD, Jeffrey.
At VizorJeffhog, VIZARDJEFFHOG.
And Tessie?
At Tessie Rousseau, at TESSIEROUSSEAU.
All right, and until next time, see you guys.
Au revoir.
See you after the Smash Direct.
Bye!